Hi everyone, today I'm going to show you how to turn this cheap blind box doll into a one-of-a-kind custom BJD. You'll see exactly how I made new eyes and repainted her face and body. And I'll give you some tips as a professional doll designer. Let's get started. First, you'll need a doll. This doll is from the Antu Cute Beast Magic blind box series. You can watch my unboxing and honest review in my previous videos. You can buy these at kikagoods.com for 26 USD, which is very cheap for a ball jointed doll. If you want to buy your own low-cost BJD, you can use my exclusive promo code for 10% off your purchase at Kika Goods. This is the outfit that she came with, but I think I can give her an even cuter one. I already had this extra doll dress which I got using my reward points at Kika Goods. This is how she looks in it. Isn't she so adorable? I love that little headband. Now we can prep the face. Use some acetone on cotton pads to wipe off the old face paint. When you're done, seal the face with a coat of clear matte finishing spray. This will protect the plastic and help your artwork stick onto the face better. While the face is drying, let's make new eyes. I have a separate eye tutorial that goes into more detail. It's linked in the description below, so I'll go through this part quickly. I drew a new eye design in Procreate and printed it in various sizes and colors to test out which one works best. I'm going to make these small green and blue eyes, so I'll cut them out with scissors. Here's the eye cutouts next to their eye chips, which I made from white clay. I glued the cutouts onto the clay eyes, then added some iridescent blue glitter at the bottom, which will make her eyes sparkle and stand out. Don't add too much glitter because you still want to see your eye artwork underneath. Spread a drop of UV resin on top of the eyes to create a hard glossy surface and cure them under a UV lamp or in sunlight. Here's the finished eyes. I'm really happy with how sparkly they turned out. By the way, everything I'm using in this tutorial is listed in my BJD supplies list, which is linked in the video description. Now we're going to insert these new eyes into her faceplate. This helps me sketch out the face up and make sure I get all the proportions right. I roll out a little bit of sticky putty and put a tiny log underneath her eyes. Her face is so small, so I used a toothpick to help me. Don't put the putty too close to the holes or else it will come out the front once you squish the eyes in. I made a tool out of a toothpick to help me insert the eyes. Just put a tiny bit of putty on the tip and gently attach the eye. I use this to position the eye inside of the head. I pressed down on the eye to detach it from the toothpick and now it's stuck inside the face. This is how I attach all my eyes. If you're wondering what I did with the extra pair of green eyes, I used them in my previous BJD makeover. You can watch my process video in my channel and my BJD makeovers playlist. Now we can get started on the eye deco. I'm using a brown watercolor pencil to sketch in the eyes. What's unique about this doll is that she has sculpted eyelashes. I decided to mostly follow the existing eyelashes sculpt except for a couple of small areas. You can see that I'm extending the upper lash line at the inner corners of her eyes. I'm using a lighter brown for her lower lash line, and I'm also extending the line at the inner corner. Now let's do the same thing on the other side. I like how this eye sketch looks, so I'll go over it with paint later. For now, let's move on to sketching the mouth. I'm using a brown watercolor pencil to draw the lines and a reddish-orange pencil to lightly make a light peach lip color. I want to save my work now, so I'm going to remove the eyes and seal the face again with Mr. Super Clear matte spray. While I'm waiting for the face to dry, I can prepare the blush palette. I use a knife to scrape chalk pastels into a powder. I'm using multiple colors so that I can blend different combinations for various parts of her face and body. You should lay a paper towel on your table because this blush technique tends to drop a lot of pigment and the paper towel will catch it for an easier cleanup later. I started by mixing a pale pink base coat on the apples of her cheeks. For a natural look, I suggest slowly building up the blush and eyeshadow color. Don't use too much pigment right from the start. I mixed a pale orange to blend her cheek blush out towards the sides of her face. She has really short baby bangs and I wanted to get some blush underneath to create a bit of color and shadow, so I attached the bangs to make sure I get correct placement for the blush on her forehead. Now that I know where to place the blush, I took off the bangs and I'm using pale orange to contour the sides of her face and also on her forehead. To do the front of the ear, start in the center and work your way out. The pigment should be concentrated in the center of the ear. Here's how the front looks so far. I'm going to turn the face around to do the back of the ears. This time I'm going to start at the bottom edge and blend towards the head. I'm using light pink to build up some more blush on the apples of her cheeks. I'm using a smaller brush with the same light pink color for her eyeshadow. I want to make sure I get the eyeshadow in between her sculpted eyelashes. I'm using pale orange between her eyes. I don't want it to be the same color as her cheeks or else it will look like makeup instead of a natural blush. Now I'm going to seal my work again, and while I'm waiting for the face to dry, I can start working on the body. I'm going to create a light pink gradient on the bottom of her legs by using a bigger, fluffy brush with pink pigment. Start at the bottom of the leg and blend upwards. You can get some blush on the top of the foot to blend it in with her leg. I used a much smaller brush to get the ledge at the very bottom of her lower leg piece, and also these little tufts of fur on the sides of her legs. You can see the gradient that I made on the right leg. Okay, now it's time to do the same on the left leg. Now I've made both leg gradients, so I'm using an orange color in between her toes to make them look a bit more realistic. You could compare the left side versus the right side that I just did. Now I'm adding orange between the toes of her other foot. This doll isn't going to have shoes, so I made sure to blush the bottom of her foot as well. I extended the orange color in between her toes to the bottom of her foot and also added a peach color on her little pads. I added pink blush to her pads to make them stand out a bit more, kind of like a cat's paw. I'm adding some pale orange blush to the sides of her neck. This will help the neck blend in with the face a little bit better. Blush the collarbone starting in the center and blending out towards her shoulders. You can add just a tiny bit of blush on her shoulders. Again, don't add too much. You can choose to do the center of her back as well. An easy way to do hands is by starting at the palm of the hand where the fingers meet the palm. Concentrate the color in that point and blend outwards towards the bottom edge of the palm and the tips of the fingers. On the top side of the hand, use a small brush to get color in between the fingers. Here's how the hand looks. Again, I didn't use too much blush because I want the hand to look natural and not too red. Now let's do the same thing on the other side. Add just a touch of peach blush on the knees. I sealed the whole body with Mr. Super Clear, and now I'm giving her some pale peach nail polish and painting her pads the same color. I'm going over the eyeliner with a brown acrylic paint, making sure to cover the entire sculpted eyelash area. The top eyeliner is done, so now I'm going to paint over the bottom eyeliner using a lighter brown color. I'm extending the bottom lashes just a little bit so you can see them a little better. I want her eyes to look bright and innocent, so I'm using white paint just on the outer corners of her eyes. You can see that the left eye that I just painted looks much brighter than the right eye. Let's add white to the other side. Now both eyes look happy and bright. I sketched in her eyelid using a watercolor pencil and went over it with acrylic paint. I decided that she needed more blush, so I'm using this hot pink color right above her eyelids. I used a pink watercolor pencil to blend her eyeshadow towards her bottom lash line in a more precise way. To give her a more youthful and smiling expression, I used a white watercolor pencil right beneath her eyes. I forgot to film myself painting her lips, but I mixed a pale peach acrylic for her lip color, and I'm using a coral pencil to accentuate her mouth lines. I painted a flesh color along her eyelids to accentuate them and make them look more 3D. This next step is extra, but I think it makes a difference. I use a blue pencil right where the whites of her eyes meet her top eyeliner. The blue will create a subtle shadow and also a slight glow on her dark eyeliner. This works particularly well since her eyes are going to be blue, so it will look like a reflection from her eyes. Here's how the face looks so far. So far, so cute! I attached her bangs so that I could draw on her eyebrows with a watercolor pencil. This helps me get the correct brow placement. I added a few freckles on the sides of her cheeks with a dark brown watercolor pencil. Then I switched to a lighter brown pencil and went over the same spots plus added some more. This is going to give her freckles a more blurred effect. Added some freckles above her nose, and here's the final look for her freckles. I used this ball-tipped stylus tool dipped in paint to create perfect dots. I'm using it here in the inner corners of her eyes to highlight them. Now I feel like there's too much highlight in the center of her face, so I'm going to balance it out by adding highlights on the edge of her eyes. Now you can see it's way more balanced. Final steps for her face makeup. I'm adding a coat of gloss on her lips and on her upper eyeliner. Before we put the whole doll together, I decided to make her staff a little extra. You could pop off the gem pretty easily. Instead of painting it a whole different color, I just added a couple of coats of iridescent gold paint on top to make it seem more sparkly. Let's add the eyes back to her face. Here she is, all finished. I am totally in love with her. I'll admit that yellow is not my favorite color, but I'm super happy with how she turned out, especially her eyes. I love how big, bright, and sparkly they are. And yes, her magnetic ears do stay on her head even though she has this thick headband on. What do you guys think of my doll? By the way, both of my custom Cute Beast Magic dolls are for sale on my website. You can check out the Purple Dolls Makeover tutorial on my channel or in my BJD Makeovers playlist. If you enjoyed this tutorial, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. It's almost Sakura season and I have some special BJD dolls to unbox and customize, so keep an eye out for those videos. Thanks for watching and see you next time!